I was 13 and I was molested. I got pregnant. The social worker came over and she had my grandmother to sign a consent form. The welfare department had told my grandmother that if she didn't sign those papers, she would not receive supplement foods. My grandmother signed an X, and when they took my son, they sterilized me at the same time. Normally, now I'm thinking, I'm trying to ask myself, why didn't they wait since my body was so young, and my body wasn't really ready to have a baby. My body was already traumatized from the delivery or from the rape. They didn't even say anything to me about this. My grandmother didn't understand what she was signing an X to because my grandmother was illiterate. I was raped twice. I was raped by the perpetrator. And I was also raped by the state of North Carolina because they took something from me. I didn't know I was sterilized until I had turned 19 after I had gotten married. The doctor actually explained to me, "You've been butchered." They said that I was feeble-minded. I'm not feeble-minded.
Was the official reason?
That was the official reason for having me sterilized. What I believe it was because I was black. I was from a poor environment, and they probably felt like I was going to end up just like other people. I mean, what kind of government is this? I mean, I don't believe that this government allowed a group of people to sit there and say what was right for another person.
When the eugenics movement began in America, Americans thought of this as a very hopeful science. There wasn't much talk of sterilization. There was much attention, though, to better breeding, healthy families, everyone having babies who wouldn't be diseased and would live longer. These are the kinds of things that all people wanted. And so the word eugenics became very popular. Presidents like Calvin Coolidge, Theodore Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, all of those presidents supported eugenics, at least to the point where they agreed that healthier babies was a good idea.
Eugenics at the time was understood to be a science. It was taught in American colleges and universities as part of standard biology courses. And given that this was a science, the Carnegie and Rockefeller philanthropies were interested in general in supporting the development of good science and also its facilitating its social uses.
Andrew Carnegie gave money to 500 universities, colleges, and institutions, thousands of library buildings, an endowment for international peace, and many other projects, all benefited from Carnegie's Gospel of Wealth. In all, he gave away over $200 million.
La liste est longue de ceux qui, au début du XXe siècle, placent leurs espoirs dans cette nouvelle science venue tout droit d'Europe. À la fin de sa vie, Darwin s'inquiète. Un avenir bien sombre attend l'humanité, car dans notre civilisation, la sélection naturelle ne joue plus aucun rôle. De plus, le renouvellement de notre population est davantage dû aux classes inférieures qu'aux classes moyennes ou supérieures. Galton, cousin de Darwin, crée en 1883 le mot eugénisme, la science des bonnes naissances.
Quand on dit aujourd'hui eugénisme, le mot est violemment connoté péjorativement. Bon. On oublie qu'à l'époque, en 1900, le mot eugénisme est connoté positivement. Les sociétés d'eugénisme ont pignon sur rue. Elles se développent avec l'assentiment du pouvoir, elles sont populaires, elles recrutent un grand nombre de médecins, d'hygiénistes, d'urbanistes qui sont fiers et honorés d'appartenir à de telles sociétés.
À partir de 1900, les sociétés d'eugénisme se multiplient en Europe. La première est créée à Berlin en 1905 par le médecin Plötz et le psychiatre Rudin. C'est la Société pour l'hygiène raciale. L'hygiène raciale, c'est notamment empêcher les faibles, les malades, les inaptes et les mauvais d'avoir une descendance.
Alors, il peut y avoir une peur de la dégénérescence. C'est un terme qui est très utilisé à partir des années 1880, sous l'influence de la vulgarisation plus ou moins réussie de la pensée de Darwin, sous l'influence d'une observation des sociétés comme des objets d'histoire naturelle.
L'eugénisme avec l'apport de la dégénérescence, sans vouloir du tout disqualifier les actuelles inquiétudes au sujet du réchauffement climatique, mais on peut remarquer qu'il y a le même type de croisement entre politique et science, autour d'une peur ou une inquiétude, et où on annonce une catastrophe.
La Société eugéniste anglaise, présidée par un des fils de Darwin, est fondée en 1907. Le romancier H.G. Wells écrit cette année-là. Notre devoir est de nous enquérir de ce que l'utopie fera de ces infirmes, de ces idiots et de ces fous, de ces ivrognes, de ces vicieux et des êtres stupides, trop stupides pour être utiles à la communauté. Il faut recourir à une sorte de chirurgie sociale.
Oui, la dégénérescence est une grande hantise de l'époque, liée également à la découverte des mécanismes de l'hérédité. Par exemple, dans un grand nombre d'œuvres romanesques de la fin du XIXe siècle, l'idée de dégénérescence, aussi bien en Allemagne qu'en France, qu'en Angleterre, est omniprésente.
La Société française d'eugénique est créée en 1913. Charles Richet, son vice-président, prix Nobel de médecine, écrit « La sélection ne sera efficace que si elle est sévère, et la sévérité, c'est l'élimination des mauvais. Or, les mauvais ne vont pas disparaître de leur plein gré. Il faudra donc une autorité pour les éliminer de la société humaine. » C'est aux États-Unis qu'apparaissent les premières lois de stérilisation dès 1907. En 1910 est créé près de New York l'Eugenics Record Office, qui va devenir le foyer théorique de l'eugénisme américain. L'institution qui lui a donné naissance existe toujours.
What is Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory now? One of the most distinguished laboratories for the pursuit of molecular biology and molecular genetics in the world.
I just want to film the former building of the Eugenics Record Office.
You know, it really has no connection to the laboratory today, and it wouldn't make sense to do that.
But it's an historical documentary. It's not about the present.
You know, I don't think that there'd be any discussion on the subject.
They are embarrassed by it. I think they should live more comfortably with it because it doesn't characterize Cold Spring Harbor today by any means. And they should say this is what went on there. It was wrong, and we're now have gone past it now for more than half a century.
When the Eugenics Record Office was founded in 1910, it was meant to be a place where people studied families. Charles Davenport, who was the director, was focused, like his hero, Francis Galton, on family traits.
And they looked for families they called degenerate, right? So families where there was alcoholism, families where there was so-called feeble-mindedness, families where there was illegitimacy, families where there was prostitution and what have you. And then they would do interviews and ask about the parents and the grandparents.
But this was a pedigree chart of the famous Jukes family, and it got so large that they decided to make it in a circle because they could contain more people this way.
And why was it made?
It was made to show that some 900 individuals who ended up in the prisons of New York were descended from the same woman, Margaret, the mother of criminals. Harry Laughlin had projected that we needed to be 15 million Americans sterilized. In 1914, Laughlin was asked to write a model law, and Harry Laughlin said this law should be used to sterilize 10, perhaps 15 million people who represent the bottom tenth of the American population. Newspapers picked up that headline, people laughed. The reaction was strong against him. This is a table that talks about how many years it would take before they were all sterilized. It shows beginning in 1915, it shows by 1985 the number of people who would be sterilized. His plan was really to simply eliminate people who would cause social costs like crime and poverty. And he thought you could do that if you just didn't let people have children.